Hey, it's Leah Garcia. Get ready for the launch of my new interactive Wall of Wealth on June 24th. This isn't just an event, it's a game changer. Join me in the Plaza Metaverse or watch live across all social media platforms. I will unlock the secrets to building, protecting, and growing your dynasty with powerful, risk-free wealth strategies. Don't sit on the sidelines. This is your chance to level up and secure your financial future. Save the date. Let's make wealth without risk your reality.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we want to welcome you all to the Hello LLC with Miss Leah Garcia and in the Hello Plaza in Metaverse. And you guys need to come and join us. And you are on all different platforms from Facebook to LinkedIn to YouTube to Twitch to actual X and Instagram. So we are omnipresence everywhere, and we want to welcome you all for joining us today for the amazing launch of the interactive Wall of Wealth with Miss Leah Garcia. And if you guys don't know who Miss Leah Garcia, check this out. Miss Leah is an amazing, uplifting energy, vibrant person. If you guys haven't seen her, you better be under a rock. She's an amazing grandma, the grandma of the century at that. She's a black belt. She will come out right of nowhere. And not only that, she is a financial strategist, an insurance pro. She helps business owners and entrepreneurs and anybody else, but more importantly, businesses with 0 to 50 employees. And she is wealth without risk, no doubt about it. And more importantly, guys, she is full of abundance and energy and wants more for you. And she's a great friend of ours. She's been helping us as well as she's going to help you guys. And so without further ado, Miss Leah, welcome, ma'am. What do you want to share with everybody?
Wow, I'm so fired up. I'm so excited. This is like a game changer of all game changers, and I'm super excited about the Wall of Wealth. I've been teaching this now for many years. I used to sketch it on a little yellow notepad with a black Sharpie, and now we've got this. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. But instead of me sharing all about it, I'm going to let my AI MotionWorks do it for us. Let's talk about the Wall of Wealth.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Introducing Leah Garcia's Wall of Wealth, the ultimate one-page financial plan to protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth with confidence. Whether you're a business owner or just starting your financial journey, this step-by-step guide gives you the tools to create a solid foundation for long-term success. Don't wait to transform your money mind shift. Download your free copy today at leahgarcia.io and start building your Wall of Wealth now.
I love it. So, the Hello MotionWorks, video says a lot, but talk to us really why the Wall of Wealth.
Yeah, fantastic question. And really, for me, I wanted something that was simple, easy, that my clients could quickly identify the areas that might be the gaps in their financial plan. And I've been teaching this to my clients for, many years, over a decade. It's evolved over time as I kind of identified other areas. But this option that I have right now, I've been teaching this for over 5-7 years. And my intention with this is that anyone, whether they're just starting out with their finances, whether they are a bazillionaire, whether they're a business owner, entrepreneur, wherever you are financially, this is really the first step. And so you could quickly glance and look, gosh, I don't have this. I didn't set up an emergency fund. Gosh, what did I do that's tax-free? So you can start to identify, and then you can decide if that's important to you. But that's really the first foundation. And whenever someone comes to me and they've got a financial disaster, I can always trace it back to something that they missed in the Wall of Wealth. Nobody talked to them about setting up some basic things. No one talked to them about what type of health insurance you have and what are those gaps. And if you're traveling, is this really the right product for you? So that's why. And you two have just done an incredible job. I'm like tingling right now. I'm so excited. This is really so cool.
I love that, Miss Leah. You know, I had to giggle earlier. You know, Miss Leah is a black belt of many things, not only in karate, so she can provide that personal protection there, but she really is a black belt within the financial strategy, you know, and so she provides that black belt service that, look, I am not a black belt, but I do know that it takes dedication, consistency, you know, and showing up day in, day out to make sure she's helping others. And that's what you do, Miss Leah. I just wanted to give you some flowers because of what you are doing with the Wall of Wealth and being able to show people this is your foundation. And that was something as in building this, and that we speak, and we'll talk more about that of your foundation, is why it's so important to be able to start and know. And that knowledge is not known, it's not given, you're giving it, you know, and being able to show up and build that. As you shared with me, you can't build a foundation or a house without having that foundation. How many times have people had to maybe even do foundation repair on their homes and didn't have that money or those assets or something to pull from, that liquidity, to then be able to fix that? All because somebody, not them, but somebody cut a corner on that foundation. So, you know, I have the first question here of, and this is really important. I want everybody to pay attention to this question. We start this out with a bang. Should I pay off debt, or should I save and invest for retirement? Which one should I do first, Miss Leah?
That is a question I get all the time. And a lot of financial gurus will say, pay off your debt, you know, don't do anything else until you get your debt paid off. And I 1,000% disagree. I believe that saving and investing for most people is an atrophy muscle. We haven't developed it. And remember, what you do with a little, you will do with a lot. So when you are starting your financial plan and you're trying to pay down that debt, if you don't pay yourself first, if you don't take the time to start saving and investing, when you have that money, you're always going to say, well, I need to do this first. I need to buy a car. I need to buy another house, or I need to do something else. So we have to develop that skill of paying ourselves first and saving and investing. And it doesn't matter how much. If you only have $1 at the end of your month, then start with $1, right? I talk about the power of the penny. You could literally right now take that $1, go to the bank and get 100 pennies. Do you know that now pennies are going to be worth 2 to 3 cents instead of 1? So if you save $100 in the right type of pennies, now you have $100 or 200, you know, $200 or $300 as opposed to $100. So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, no, and you share that, and I share this with people all the time. You know, me growing up, financial literacy was caught, not taught. And my father would always share with me, hey, boy, you need to save, you need to save, you need to save. Yes, he taught me one aspect, but what he didn't teach me is what you just shared, investing. And not just having the bank do the investing on the back end, but me actually investing and taking a little bit of so-called risk, right? But also understanding where the patterns and where the future and where, you know, the economy is going, and being like, hey, I know this is going to grow. Just like the real estate, just like, you know, Google, just like Amazon, just like Apple, just like Meta, just like all AI, those things that we're hearing about now that we can invest in now, knowing that they're going to be something of value in the future, and taking that Starbucks, taking that extra hobby money that you do on golf clubs, or, you know, going to get your nails done, or going to the vacation, or going here. It blows my mind, just as you hear it, Leah. Oh, I don't have money to invest in my time. And then you see them on Instagram, you see them on social media, and they're, you know, hosting the latest bag or the latest this. And it's like, hold on. Did you just tell me you didn't have this? And so this is really where it also comes down to the mindset. And that's something you talk about a lot, of being able to not only have the financial segment piece to it, but also the mindset and understanding the reasons why, because you do keep it real. You do, you know, tell people, hey, this is what you got to do, and don't candy coat it, you know. And even as we move through this, I would love for you to be able to share, your analogy of, the actual wall of wealth, and be able to share with us why even more. You talked about the cake analogy, right? Of the wall of wealth. Can we, because I know that's not something we talked about, but I want people to understand your analogy behind it of the cake layer so they can understand this as we go through this interactive, a wall of wealth that we'll talk a little bit more after you answer that question.
Absolutely. And this is supposed to be simple. See, all these financial experts, wealth management, financial advisors, all these other gurus want you to think that money is super complicated, that you need them. I'm telling you that money is so simple. So when we look at this, you can look at a glance, and it's just like the layers of the cake, right? Every layer don't complete until you go to the next one. Or maybe it's not important to you. Maybe we look at the college savings and you don't have little children, or you don't want to save for their college. That's okay. Then we look at the next layer. And see, this is so important. This is why the fire engines are going off here right now. It's perfect. And then what protects your entire cake is the living trust. And that's the part that people just totally forget. Now, remember, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have other types of investments, because I talk about life insurance and pensions and tax-free, but there are another spot for all those additional investments like individual stocks, Bitcoin, buying and selling real estate. That's a cherry on top. And why this is so critical is so many people, we know about 2008, whether you were alive then or not, you heard about 2008. I meet people all the time. I met people during that time because I was licensed at that time, and they owned 20, 30, 40, 50 properties. All their eggs were in one basket. All their eggs were in real estate. And guess what happened to them that they still, a lot of them have not recovered from? They lost their real estate. So that's why I say we got to put the foundation first. And then if real estate does well, hey, you're good. But if real estate goes a little wonky, a little sideways, you are not financially devastated.
Yeah. You say that, and when we started our business, this lady chewed our butts out. You can't be in this, you can't be in that, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. And and we look back and we're like, dang, she's right. And now, looking at business now, look at Elon Musk, no pun intended, regardless of the fact he's doing, spaceships, he's doing, internet, he's doing this, he's doing that. Look at Jeff Bezos. Look at all these billionaires. They're doing multiple different things and they're investing in different things. Why are we continuing to say, oh, you need to be good at one thing, or you need to stick to this one thing, when there's so much technology, there's so much information, there's so much, things that we can be investing in by just a little bit. And so you're so true, about, talking about that. So as we continue, we want you all, first of all, to make sure you go to leahgarcia.io. This amazing biz in a box, more than a website. It's an experience into Leah Garcia's, financial strategies and all the amazing things that she does. And we're upgrading this as we speak. And literally, you can come join us in the metaverse by hitting this button right here. Or you scroll down a little bit more and you're going to be able to hit this big old button. Or did I pass it already? It's so quick. Hit refresh. Did I not?
Nope.
Oh, here we go. That would be the reason.
I fancified it and he forgot to hit refresh. Okay. Here we go.
So here we go. We're going to hit this button right here.
One.
Boom. Right? And it takes us straight to the actual interactive guide that you can be able to experience and understand this, right? Easy peasy breezy. Let's get started. Yes, indeed. It's thinking, hello, I'm Leah. I'm not going to do it all, right? Ask you for your name, right? So I'm going to put in my name, easy peasy breezy, David Jones, okay? And then we're going to hit enter. And now, of course, right, it's going to give me something else that I need. It's going to ask me a couple other questions, and then we're going to put our email address in there so we can get our quiz, we can get our score, we can get all that information back that when we go through this. And now in this interactive quiz, You can be able to discover your financial fitness score. You can dive into the Wall of Wealth guide. You now can explore the Wall of Wealth interactive checklist, and then you can even book, a discovery call with Leah. So, Miss Leah, if you would, share with us, what was, your strategy behind, being able to put together this financial fitness score that we're going to go through as, you talk about it.
Well, it's really, I can't take any credit for it. It's all about the Hello LLC. It's all about Mr. Mic Drop. I call him Mr. Mic Drop, Mr. David Jones, and Miss Christmas. I call her Miss Christmas because every time I see her, she has gifts for me. She's a wonderful, incredible, so talented. And them two together is fire and fire. I'm telling you, if you're not working with them, everything you see, all of my branding, all my social media is all because of their brilliance and genius. And so having this score, to me, what it does is it makes it more interactive. It helps people to kind of see where their blind spots might be, and then also do something kind of fun, right? It's something that's a little bit different. I don't know a lot of things that have this kind of interactive quiz. And I said that everyone should do it. Take it and just check it out. Just see where you are. Just see where you land.
I really love this idea because growing up, as we were sharing, where did the 90s go? I can't believe it's 30 years later. But, it's always kind of fun. I know growing up, I love to take little quizzes. It could be about, what was your fitness level, or how tall were you going to be, because growing, I'm 5'11", and I was kind of the short one in the family. And so, or it could be, what's your career going to be when you grow up? Or, some of them were like, who will you marry? So there were these fun quizzes that you could go and take, and that they would be able to give you some advice and be able to kind of share with you where you are, and where maybe you're projected on the current path you're going. And so taking this quiz, it's a short 10 questions. It's not hard. And just be honest, because I will say this, you can go in there, and I'm going to tell everybody can ace it. Everybody can ace this quiz if you're trying to ace a quiz. This is not a quiz that you want to ace. And that is oxymoron, I know, but this is not a quiz that you're trying to ace. This is a quiz that you need to be truthful about. And that is okay wherever you show up, because the more truthful and more honest and authentic you are with yourself, you'll be able to get into that, and then be able to have Miss Leah help that roadmap, right? But if you lie and you ace your test, you might miss out on those fundamental things that you talked about, right? And so I wanted to ask, why do I need an emergency fund if I have credit cards or I have home equity?
Amazing question. Now think about this. What is happening right now? We're kind of in this huge transition. If you haven't noticed, a lot of things are changing. Let's just put it that way. And you may have $10,000, $20,000 available credit. Well, what if the credit card company decides that they're going to reduce your credit limit? What if you miss a payment? What if you get laid off? What if the interest rate now goes up because of those things, and you're not able to access that? Home equity is like smoke. It's here today, could be gone tomorrow. We don't ever know where it's going to be. They say, you look on Zillow and they say, I just saw a house that sold in Santa Clara for $2.9 million. Okay. Who says that home is worth $2.9 million? By the way, we're talking about a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. This is not a mansion, right? So tomorrow things could change. What if interest rates rise? Is that still going to have that same amount of equity? And when people try to access their equity, this is something they don't think about. What is that interest rate is going to be? If you're in an emergency situation, it may be because of a financial setback. Now, do you qualify? Because you still have to qualify to access your own equity. So you can't ever depend on that. An emergency fund should be somewhere that is cash liquid that you can access easily without asking permission, that you can go directly to. So phenomenal question.
Oh, I love it. And so if you guys were watching the screen that I had up earlier, we just took the quiz. I got a 32 on it, right? And so that quiz will now be emailed to me. Then I would need you to go and check my email. Make sure you check your spam, of course, right? And so, check that. You get your score back, or you have an actual guide that you can actually play, and it will take you through, this guide in itself. And so we've made it to
Welcome, everyone.
literally. And
Today, I want to share something crucial that most financial advisors.
Could you hear that, Miss Leah, from your side?
Yep.
And so that right there is where it will actually talk to you through the guide, because we understand there's multiple people that like multiple different ways of learning and experiencing these things. And sometimes people don't want to take a quiz. Look, I shared with Tara, and as I shared with Miss Leah, that back in the days, I didn't want to talk about my finances. I would have people like Miss Leah come up to me and be like, hey, you want to talk about? No, I don't. No, no, right?
Oh, I think my mom was calling
I think my mom was calling me for dinner. And, and I get it. And I think this is where we share with people becoming aware.
Yeah.
And once you're aware of this, and as I shared earlier in my life, don't allow regret to be the biggest thing because of your fear and your fear of pain. Because no gain, right? No pain, no gain. And you expressing your pain and coming over that fear will be so much better than you looking back and saying, dang, that time I was watching, Leah Garcia in the Metaverse, and she had this free interactive guide that I could have went and took my test, and I could have watched and listened to the guide while I was driving to work, or listened to it like I do a podcast. And then I could have booked, a coffee chat and had that 15-minute conversation with Leah where she could have showed me all these new things that I can invest in and be a part of. I really should have did that. And that's going to eat you alive. Even now, for those of you that are listening to this and you still haven't booked that appointment, you should definitely go and book that appointment, because later on it's going to be, especially right now with everything that's going on that we talk about, the shift is here. The change is happening. And so you must be able to understand that the real estate, industry, all these things are changing from the traditional way to the new digital way as we continue to show these new experiences and things of that sort. So, what age should I start looking into long-term care insurance?
That's a loaded question. A lot of people think that they shouldn't even look at it until they're at least 60 years old or 55 years old. A lot of financial experts say it's very expensive, so don't waste your money until you get older. But by then you may be uninsurable. You may not even be able to afford it. In a lot of states like California, you can't even qualify for it. It's very difficult. So what I like to do is I like to put riders on things. And when a simple thing, a simple solution is to put a rider, a long-term care rider on your life insurance. So you can start as young as you are. It is pennies on the dollar to add that rider. And now you are covering your benefits, your beneficiaries, right, with some life insurance. Maybe you have some cash value on it. And at the same time, you add that long-term care rider just in case. Because a lot of people think they're going to self-insure. Yeah. I'll tell you what, that gets, you're going to be spending down your life savings is what you're going to end up doing. And everybody always thinks, my children are going to take care of me. My grandchildren are going to take care of me. Well, let's kind of peel back the onion on that. How are they going to supplement their income? How are they going to support their family? Are they going to quit school? Are they going to quit their job? How is going to pay their bills? And by the way, the families that I see that are devastated oftentimes is by caring for a loved one. We don't want our children to be caring for us. We want our children to have the memories with us. We want our grandchildren to remember the stories. We want them to remember the time we went to the beach and went to the amusement park. That's the memories that we want to have and be able to sustain. But if they have to care for us, then we're kind of pulling away from that. Then we don't really get those quality time. And you've got the cake. Oh my gosh, this is so great. The cake is so adorable. Oh, I love the cake. You got to look at the cake. Okay, this is beautiful. Oh my goodness.
Well, I love the cake. I love that we're having this conversation about the cake because we all love cake. Who doesn't? Well, there's probably a few people, but majority of us love cake. And majority of us don't love our finances.
Yeah.
But if we can
Right.
think about our finances like a cake, so sweeten it up a little bit. While you were talking about the rider and adding a rider, it made me think like this is that if you choose to put pecans in your cake on one level. This is at your insurance level where you're deciding, oh, I want to add you got carrot cake and you want to add some nuts into it, walnuts, pecans, whatever it is. This is where you do that. And that's how I look at it when you talk about being able to make sure that you're adding the proper coverage that you need instead of scratching it all. Just build on what you have. And that's why this is so beautiful that your wall of wealth, Miss Leah. You've really did an incredible job being able to curate this content. It's pretty, in the context that we have it in, but you're the think tank, you're the knowledge base, you're the one that took the years of experience. And that's one thing I want you to share with everybody. Can you share with the audience, how long have you been within the financial industry and being able to help people do this?
Yeah, just coming up on 20 years.
Yeah.
I started as a young child. Obviously, you could see my little avatar, right? But and I started with the basics. When I started, all I did was sell term life insurance. That's it. That's all I did. Buy term, invest the difference. And what happened was I started to meet people who bought term, never invested the difference, and now they were uninsurable. They had heart attacks, they had cancer, they had obesity, and now they were uninsurable and they still had young children to care for. They were either caring for their children or they were caring for their grandchildren or another family member. And now they were there and they could not afford, they couldn't even get life insurance because the thing that buys life insurance isn't dollars. It is your good health. That is what actually purchases life insurance.
Yeah, and you speak to something. I want to share this because I too, when I was young, was like, I guess I need to buy life insurance. What do I buy? I didn't know. And I was told the same, hey, buy this because you can change it when you're later, but go invest that money. And boy, I tell you, I definitely did not invest that money, where I should have. I was young, as we all are in our age. We all make those silly choices in life where it's, let me go to the beach with my friends instead of investing in my future. And the beautiful thing about this is a roadmap instead of someone just telling you. And look, we all have parents that probably told us to do something at some point, but we don't comprehend that until we have some skin in the game. And that's what you are bringing forward. And that's why I asked you, how many years do you have in this? Because that is important for the audience to understand. You're not just somebody that showed up yesterday and thought, oh, I have a beautiful wall of wealth. Let me share with the community. You've been around the insurance industry, the financial strategy, and been in that position to see all types of things and how people are falling down and spilling their cake everywhere.
Yeah.
So how do I create my own private pension if I do not have pension from work?
A couple of ways you can do that is you could actually, because I like to talk about wealth without risk, right? There's a time when we want to be very risky, maybe, but it's going to come a time when we want the wealth without risk. So you could actually convert, or we call it like a rollover, your old 401k, your old IRA, your old solo 401k, any of those kinds of things into a personal private pension. There's a few ways to do that. You could actually structure a cash value life insurance that can pay you for the rest of your life. You could structure a fixed index annuity that will also allow you to have money that comes into your pocket for the rest of your life. And there's also trust deeds and cash notes that could actually be structured that will pay you cash in your pocket, right? That's some money, that's spendable money that you could never outlive. And those are some of the ways that we can create our own personal private pension. And if you have cash sitting in the bank, maybe you have some dormant money, some cardiac arrest money that's sitting there in the bank. And you would be shocked and amazed. I just met a client. She's got over $500,000 in her checking account, not even in a savings account, because people don't know what to do. They don't want the risk. So we're going to help her to convert that, where she's going to be receiving, check this out. She's going to be receiving $75,000 a year for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, can you really think about retirement? Because a lot of times people think that retirement isn't for them. They think they're going to work until they die. It's because I'm going to pull back the curtain and I'm going to help them to understand products and services that are not really available to the average person. This is more like wholesale investing. I'm going to show you things and products that you probably have never heard of. Your financial advisor probably doesn't even know exists. So those are the kinds that we can do when we understand the rules of the game.
Yeah. You know, we have the amazing Wall of Wealth image here, and I wanted to stop and have you kind of go through just each level. As we've been asking questions about each kind of level back and forth and around. But I would like you to kind of explain where we start at the bottom there, and be able to have that foundation and work up.
Can you scroll down to the very first layer? Or is that?
There you go.
There we go. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So that first layer is where we talk about health insurance, life insurance, and disability. We need to have a disability plan, which is understanding how those insurances work. Are you an employee? Are you self-employed? Do you travel? What's your deductible? Do you need riders on that life insurance? And I'm not opposed to term life insurance. I'm just saying understand that there may come a time when that expires and you still need coverage. And then we talked about an emergency fund. I like to think of this as a prosperity account. Maybe you have an opportunity to buy a business or to invest in something that's on sale. People are selling things. My son-in-law is buying a boat right now at a huge discount. People are selling things because he has that cash to be able to do that. Then we talk about retirement accounts, IRAs, traditional IRA, right? Roth IRA, 401ks, all those things. Also solo 401ks. If you are an entrepreneur, did you know that you could set up your own 401k for yourself? Debt management. And these two really go together. Like I shared in the beginning, we got to be able to pay down our debt and also save and invest for retirement. Debt management, however, I don't really think that it should be punitive. I don't believe in selling your children, burning your furniture, and trying to pay off those credit cards. I just don't believe in that. That's punitive and we feel punished. There are strategies that we can use to mitigate and eliminate and reduce the interest so that you pay off that debt quicker. Yeah. Then we talk about college. And here's where I really want to highlight. So many families, well-meaning families, will forego everything else. They say, I'm healthy, I don't need health insurance. Forget about the life insurance. I'm going to stack my paper. Credit cards, emergency fund, I've got the credit cards. And they put their money into a college savings plan, investment plan for their children. And then guess what happens as soon as that emergency arrives? As soon as someone gets sick, as soon as something happens, and now somebody passes away, guess what happens to that college fund? This past year, I probably helped about 4 or 5 clients pull money out of a college savings plan because they needed that cash and they paid the taxes and the penalties. Mm-hmm. So really, really critical. And then we talk about long-term goals. Where do you want to retire? How do you want to retire? Are you going to retire and travel the world like Mr. Mike Drop and Miss Christmas? Or are you somebody who you just want to stay where you are? Or maybe you want to move to another state, another area. What does retirement and those things look like for you? Setting up your own personal private pension, I think that's critical. That is probably one of the biggest gaps in most financial plan. And then let's talk about what is tax advantage. What are the things that we can have and invest in that are tax advantage? Because remember, all of these other things, 401ks, traditional IRAs, solo 401ks, Any government-sponsored plan are taxed later. I know a lot of people think that tax deferred means it's never taxed. All it means is you're going to pay the taxes when you pull that money out. We need things that you can leverage the tax code in your favor. Cash value life insurance is a quick, easy way to do that. And then, of course, long-term care insurance. People think this is nursing home care. No, 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 no. It is stay out of a nursing home care. It is a care that we can make the option to care for ourselves, to stay in our home and have the things that we want to have around us and not be a burden on someone else, because no one wants to go to a long-term care facility. Trust me. And then that's when we can talk about other additional investments. That's when we can really focus on that Bitcoin and that real estate and wherever else that you have that comes to mind. And then what protects it all is that living trust. A current and properly structured living trust. If you're a baby boomer, hear me, baby boomers, and you set up that living trust 10, 20, 30 years ago when your children were little, it is no longer valid. If you have bought or sold real estate, if you've had a birth, a death, a divorce, any of those things, we need to make that living trust updated. So remember this term. Ask your attorney, whoever helped you set up your trust, do I have a current and properly funded living trust? And all that means is you put things into the trust. Think of a trust like an empty box. This is the step that is lost in the sauce so often. They set up everything. They've got this big, beautiful binder. It looks all sexy, but they never fund the trust. You have to put things in the trust, and that's probably the most challenging step. So hopefully that kind of breaks it down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And just listening to you and knowing some of this as well, it's so refreshing that you make it easy. And people don't understand that a lot of the times when you do talk to financial strategists, boy, they will go into the weeds and you are like, woof, gone. It's like, huh? And you make it so easy and fun at that. And then not only that, just the way the different things that that people should be integrating. And that's what we talk about, experience, right? And you've been doing this long enough for you to be able to understand the gadgets and gadgets and where people should go. And so, another question we have for you is, or before I even ask that question, you guys definitely make sure you go to leahgarcia.io and you go take this amazing quiz. You go take this amazing checklist that you've seen us go through. Go take the quiz. And if you don't want to do none of that, go listen to the guide, right? And if you definitely don't want to do none of that, then just book an appointment. Yeah. Book a coffee chat, have a conversation with Miss Leah, and, do something better than nothing at the end of the day. And this is going to be something that will definitely set yourself apart. And then even for your children. If it's not for you, do it for your children. Do it for that loved one. Because, Leah talks about that all the time, is this isn't just a legacy. This is a dynasty, and really being able to leave them with something, because you don't want your kids cussing you out that you didn't leave them with nothing. And, you could have done something. I'm just saying. And you might be one of those people that might cuss your parents out because they didn't leave you nothing. So, and we always say, I want to do something more than my parents did for me. Well, this is one of those things. This is better than one of those things. Part. Than a Christmas present, than a birthday party, than all of that, that when your kids gets out of college, hey, son, here goes $50,000. What you going to go do?
Right.
Right. That's a different mindset other than, hey, here goes this, here goes that. Let me do this for you. That's being preventative. And that's something that we talk about all the time, is being preventative. So, if you don't own a home, do I need a living, trust plan?
Well, before I touch on that, I want to circle back and highlight what you just shared, because oftentimes people think that they have to leave something, or if they want to leave something, it means that they have to spend less. And that's not necessarily true. And I just truly believe that we should leave every generation better than we were. I believe it is our fiduciary responsibility for the people in our lives, whether we have children or grandchildren, or maybe you're an auntie or an uncle, right? You're a cousin, you're somebody, that we should leave something better than where we were, because that's what happens is every generation has to start all over again. And it just shouldn't happen that way. It does not have to happen that way. Even if you feel like you don't have a lot of money, you can squirrel away some money and get a life insurance policy and set things up that way. So I just had to highlight that. That was so brilliant. So if you don't own a home, you may not need a living trust, but you definitely need some type of estate planning. You need your power of attorney. You need your medical directives. You need your HIPAA release. You need a way to systematically distribute your assets, an instruction manual, if you will, so that your family's not bickering. And maybe one of them says that you were going to leave them that favorite clock, but then somebody else thinks that that was supposed to be left to them also. Just make it clean, clear. And I understand this might be an uncomfortable conversation. That's why I'm not an attorney, okay? But what I do is I help my clients get prepared and organized. I help them to understand the process. I help them understand the questions that are going to be asked, the decisions they're going to be asked to make. And then when they meet with the attorney, they feel really comfortable, they understand, and it is much less painful when I'm there to kind of help them to unpack it all and put it all together, follow up with them. It's a white glove service that I provide.
Yeah. While you're speaking about that, Miss Leah, I know this is a question that you probably get a lot is, well, don't worry about it. I have a will. I have a will, and my will is going to will where I need to will it, and I'm good. I don't need a living trust. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, and we hear this holographic will thing, right? Because of Aretha Franklin. Oh, just write it down at the very last minute and put in your sofa cushions. And you absolutely can do that. However, remember, a will must go through the public probate process. That, by the way, is very costly. So let's unpack that a minute. Probate is a public process. That means all of your nosy neighbors and all of your friends are going to see all of your assets and all of your debts. Check that out. We don't want to talk to anybody about our money. And then when you pass away, they're going to see everything? Absolutely not. So if you want to stand by having a will, God bless you. That's all I can say. If you own hard assets, and even if you don't, even if you have things that are more complex, let's just say, for example, you want to distribute your assets in a certain way. You don't want to give assets to that minor child, that minor grandchildren. You want them to have a portion of that when they reach a certain age. Or maybe you do a buy-in. This is one of my favorite strategies that I love to talk about with my clients is that don't give your kids everything all at once. Make them have a buy-in. If they want to buy a car, they got to bring 50% in, and they can bring 50% of the trust. If they want to start a business, they got to bring in 50%, and then that's that matching grant. They want to buy a home or anything that they want to do. And that's how I'm setting up my trust, because otherwise we've seen what happens. And I think that's a lot of apprehension why people don't want to set up a living trust, is because they just feel like if I give it to them, then they're just going to make a mess. But if you don't have the instruction manual, it's already a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to speak to that because, that's not common knowledge. We're taught just have a will, you'll be great, and off you go. And I've been able to kind of bust that myth just, in my personal research. And Miss Leah has reiterated that, time and time again, watching her amazing Wealthy Wednesday shows. If you're not catching that, catch that every Wednesday, by the way. But that is so key. And that living trust acts like the icing to your cake, as David Jones has a beautiful cake up here in the background for us. It makes me want to go get some cake. But my point being is how many of us, I put a cake together before, and you're adding layers. You have to use that icing as glue and adhesive. So between each layer, you have to go ahead and add some sort of icing in there, that layer of protection, and you add the next one and then add a layer of protection. And that layer of protection is your living trust when you go ahead and then ice the entire outside of it. It's beautiful. It's well packaged. Everything inside of it is protected, and you're off you go.
You sound like Chef Andy. You're making me hungry.
I am.
That was brilliant. And you know what you just helped me to understand is that People think a living trust is a set it and forget it. No, as the layers evolve, you need to go back and revisit your living trust and just make sure the language hasn't gone extinct, right? There's different laws that come into place that maybe it's not relevant anymore. So that was really brilliant. So you're teaching me, Miss Tara. I love it. I love to be a student. I'm always learning.
I love it. And you can't take dried frosting. If you built the first 4 layers and you've got a little time before your frosting dried, you can't bring that frosting up and recreate it. You've got to go in, refresh, check everything out. And that's what you're talking about. So
I love it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So
she's gonna be baking a cake here pretty soon, y'all.
We are.
I know, and I see this is red velvet cake. I believe it's red velvet, and I do love red velvet. I'm sure everybody let me know if you love red velvet cake. What is your favorite cake?
Yes,
I love that. So a great question here is what if I put all my money into my financial foundation and I do not have the money to put towards my child's college fund?
And I really suggest that you really don't fund your child's college. I know, I said it. I'm going to say it. You know why? Because when we give them that college, I don't know. I can only speak for what I've seen. When my clients come to me, their children, they've paid for their children's college. They're not using that or degree, or they never graduated from college. And now the parent has a Parent Plus loan. They mortgaged their home. They sold assets, and they don't really have anything to show for it. And now we have to make adjustments to their retirement plan. I say, allow your kids to work through school, allow them to go ahead and take out those loans, and give them a gift at the end, give them a reward. Say, okay, when you graduate, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you a gift and help to reimburse you and offset some of those costs, right? Because those payments don't start until after they graduated. I see so many families who just do drastic things trying to put their children through college, and they compromise their own finances. And I just don't agree with that. I know that might ruffle some feathers. I totally get it. And I was the same way. Okay. I really was. But what I've learned, right? What I've learned and what I've seen is we have other options, because there are plans for kids to go to college. There's loans and grants and things of that nature. There are no grants for retirement. There just isn't, right? We have this Social Security. We all know it's social insecurity. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
I love it. I want to add to that. That is exactly what my mom told me. I will be 100%. My mom had the attitude that you shared, was like, look, what I can do for you is I am going to put into the retirement to make sure that I can put your dad and I through retirement, and he has his and I have mine. But I'm going to teach you how you can do this. And that's through grants, scholarships. If you really want it, I'm going to teach you how to get resourceful. And that was my parents, was teaching us how to be resourceful and how to go out there and if you have to take out loans, and being able, and where my parents showed up was, here's what we can do. We can offer you, we had several colleges around us, quality colleges. We can offer you free room and board. We can offer you free food. We can offer you and help you pay for your gas back and forth. Those living, you're going to have to work, yes, but we can help with that. And that, I love that you say, you know what, I'm going to be a little controversial here. And I'm going to say, no, we're not going to do what we've always done and felt that we obligated to do as parents. And that's kind of the 2x4 between your eyeballs about the wall of wealth. And that's why you need Miss Leah Garcia in your corner, guys.
Boom. And you say that, and I just think of how many times people are dropping 4, 5, 10 grand on college every semester, and it's just going down the drain. It goes to your point, to make it an easier flow, is you got to pay yourself, right? Hey, I love your son, I love your daughter, but I got to pay myself first. And this is scholarships, all these things. And even, let's be honest, right now, do you really want to go to college? There's so many other things that you can be doing, trade school, starting your business, learning AI, and there's a lot of people that are already doing that where college might be obsolete with Metaverse and AI and in us not even needing jobs here in the near future. And that's really where we're going, as we talked about, in our AI Ed show earlier. But, one of the last questions we have for you is, what are some of the tax advantage investments? Talk to us about that, because everybody wants to know, oh, how can I save on taxes? Talk to us a little bit about it.
Well, advanced tax planning is really about layers. It really is not a one size fits all. This is where, and all of this is all custom. I don't do any cookie cutter work. This is all individual planning that I do for every one of my happy clients. And when it comes to tax advantage, probably the biggest blind spot is not having cash value life insurance. Some people call it a family bank. I like to think of it as a family dynasty. This is where we can overfund a life insurance policy that we can actually borrow against. We can borrow from the death benefit. That's called an alternate loan. You borrow from the death benefit, so you're not borrowing your own money. Your own money stays in the policy and it grows. But now you can move that money back and forth because they use a life insurance as collateral. The money that comes out of a life insurance is invisible protected money, meaning that it is not taxed. The IRS, Social Security, creditors, predators can't access that money in most situations. So that's really a real easy one. And then there's also other planning. We call them custom notes that you can do. That's also tax advantage that leverages real estate. How would you like to own real estate without owning real estate, without having to do the tenants, the toilets, and all of that, but enjoying the tax advantage?
Yeah.
Those are the things that are real sexy. So those are a couple really easy things that people could do.
Yeah. And that's what this entire thing is about, is getting you the tools and understand it's handing someone a coloring book and being able to have the lines and the ability for them to color in. It even goes to the step where Miss Leah is going to put the numbers in there, so you know what number, what color to, color each thing. And so, Miss Leah, as we wrap up this amazing conversation today, what are some final thoughts that you would love to leave us with?
I say all progress starts with telling the truth. Folks, we can lie to ourselves. We can push it away. We can pretend it doesn't exist. But at some point, we're going to have to retire. It may be because somebody you love gets sick and now you have to care for them. It may be because someone passes away. It may become because your body gives it up, right? You can no longer do the thing that you were normally doing. At some point, we're not going to be able to generate the income that we've known, and we have to retool. We got to look really hard at what we have, whatever that story is. There's no judgment here. Good, bad, or indifferent. Where are you and where do you want to go? And I just truly believe that anyone who comes into contact with me, no matter if you right now have too much month at the end of your money, no matter if you think that you don't have any way to make extra income, I promise you, you can truly go from zero to hero and change your family's last name forever. You're the one in your family that's supposed to do that.
Yeah. As you were sharing there, start now. We encourage everybody to start wherever you are. And like Miss Leah said, just be authentic with yourself, because you're only hurting yourself. And this is the final thing that, you've probably heard Miss Leah talk about the living trust and speak to your attorney and things like that. If you guys don't have that, it's okay. Book a coffee chat, a 15-minute, no obligations, no nothing. Book a coffee chat with Miss Leah and have those conversations. And if you start moving the ball forward and realize, I do need to put a team together, Miss Leah is an excellent quarterback to be able to show you and point you in the direction of where you will need to go, where you can make a knowledgeable choice. And that's what this is about. And so, Miss Leah, we greatly appreciate everything you are doing within not only your community, our community, but this entire world by showing up every day, every week, sharing financial literacy with us. You know, it might sound redundant to you, but you are touching people and you might not see it, but you're making an impact because you're showing up and you're sharing this information. And a lot of financial advisors, financial strategists, insurance professionals, investment, advisors are not giving this information. And they're almost keeping the cards to their chest, and it doesn't do them any good. It doesn't do the end user, the client, the customer, the community. It doesn't do anybody any good. So kudos to you, Miss Leah, for showing up and showing out and showing us how to get our cake all taken care of.
You can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. I love that.
That indeed. So you guys make sure you go to the amazing LeahGarcia.io. Her Biz in a Box, more than a website. It ain't a crusty dusty. It's definitely interactive. It's an experience. And more importantly, it's really something that you guys all should go and visit. Take that quiz. It's 10 questions, easy peasy breezy. Go look at the checklist. Go, read the guide, listen to the guide, and more importantly, book that coffee chat and just have a conversation. It's pressing the button as we share with you guys. And at the end of the day, what else are you going to do? Right? You're going to sit there, watch Netflix. You're going to sit there and think about, oh man, I should have that call. It's right there in front of you. Go book it, get off of here right now, hit that button and go and, really have that conversation. Yeah. And other than, going to get a piece of cake, you can go get a piece of cake and book the call.
I love that. I just saw Miss Leslie's comment. Let them eat cake.
Let them eat cake.
That's perfect. It's perfect.
I love
it. Perfect. Well, Miss Leah, we want to thank you. We want to thank you all for joining us on our Facebook, on our YouTube, on our Twitch, on our X, and of course, those of you that came and visit us in the amazing Hello Plaza in Metaverse that you could join from any device, including that cell phone, iPad, or that crusty dusty laptop. But other than that, you guys know the drill: love,
kindness,
integrity,
but most importantly,
commitment
and
consistency.
And until next time, kids,
toodles.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Hello, LLC.
Yes, ma'am. And we're going to leave you guys with this.
Are you a business owner looking to secure your financial future and create a lasting legacy? I'm Leah Garcia, a financial strategist and insurance professional, and I specialize in guiding businesses with up to 50 employees on how to effectively protect and transfer their wealth. We break down silos with my unique approach, the Wall of Wealth. Imagine a seamless collaboration among your CPA, tax attorney, estate planner, and insurance expert, each playing their part in perfect harmony, ensuring your financial strategy is not just effective, but a true masterpiece. My passion stems from my own journey, from growing up on food stamps to dreaming of building community centers that empower others. Together, we'll craft a roadmap that not only safeguards your assets, but also nurtures generational wealth for your loved ones. Let's transform your vision into reality. After all, you can't measure the heart of a champion just by looking at them. Join me, and let's make your financial future shine.